911 operators of Reddit, what are some of the funniest things someone has called in for? My dad used to be in charge of the 911 call center. One particular story I remember was in like '09, some guy called asking how much weed he could have in his car while driving through the state. They went back and forth for maybe 20 minutes of the guy repeating and rephrasing the question and my dad just responding none. One time a guy called in while I was training and stated he had cut his penis. When I answered, "You cut your penis?" the trainer smacked me on the arm and told me he said he'd cut his hand. She looked at me like the biggest pervert. Then 10 seconds later into the conversation he says, "Yeah, I was trying on a rubber that was too small and I had to cut it off, so I cut right into my penis." She almost couldn't stop herself from laughing. I briefly worked as a 911 operator. When someone called on the non-emergency line, we always answered the same way: blank police and fire. This is a recorded line, how can I help you? We get a call on that line, I answer as usual, and a very inebriated sounding woman asks the following: hypothetically speaking, if my boyfriend had a few grams of cocaine and I called the police to tell them about it, would either of us get into any trouble? Mom, you're calling the police on a recorded line. I know, but what does the law say? I don't know, Mom, I'm not a police officer. Would you like me to send one? Yes, please. She gives me her address. An officer responded, but there were no arrests. That one had me scratching my head. I had a guy call in on 911 because he was concerned about a seagull he thought was injured in a Chipotle restaurant parking lot. Apparently while on the phone, he tried to pick up or check on the bird, at which point the bird started squawking, then he started freaking out and I started having trouble telling them apart. Then there I could hear what might have been wings flapping, a brief silence, and suddenly the guy started hyperventilating and screaming he needed an ambulance because he was having a heart attack and that the bird flew off. I wasn't sure if he was being serious, so I got him over to EMS as a precaution. Upon transfer and getting EMS on the line, he got very quiet and said, "I think I'm okay, I'll call you back later," and hung up and would not answer on call back. I still wonder about Steven Seagal when I drive by a Chipotle. I just certified as a call taker and got mandated for overtime, of course, on my first shift. Policy was if someone insisted they saw something, we take it as face value and enter the call. Well, this lady called me just after midnight and swore she saw a chupacabra on the west side of Orlando and insisted in an officer doing an area check. Not too long after that, a co-worker was in on his night off and left the building. He called 2 minutes later saying he saw a kangaroo hopping down the street. I can't make this crap up. When I was a fire dispatcher, I had to send a squad to remove a cock ring. So there's that. I'm just trying to visualize how they managed to get that off the poor guy. Did they use bolt cutters or something? They just blasted him with cold water from the hose until it fell off. Had a grown man calling in about a monster trying to get into his son's room. He's the right kind of frantic where I know it's not a mental health crisis, but I still couldn't figure it out. Well, he's a Middle Eastern male with a real thick accent and I was having a hard time understanding, so he gave the phone to his son. The monster had climbed a tree and was at his bedroom window. And it was as big as his dog. And it has hands like him but tiny. Wait, what? Right there I told the kid to see if it had rings on his tail. Yes, they had just moved to America a month ago, and had never heard of raccoons. I couldn't mute myself fast enough, and the father heard me laughing. I think that's what helped calm him down. I explained what a trash panda was and welcomed him to our wild jungle. Oh, that's adorable. Numerous calls where someone has handcuffed themselves to a SO during coitus and lost the key. If it's not busy, this seems to draw most available officers. Not me, but a co-worker. A person was pleasuring themselves with the handle of a scissors and it got stuck. Sesame timbers. Lady called in because she thought Willie Nelson was having a cardiac arrest in her trailer, and she needed an ambulance. I started giving her CPR instructions, and come to find out when paramedics got there, she was doing compressions on the couch cushions. I'll never smoke weed with Willie again.